There we go. Good morning, everybody. We're back again with a beautiful, amazing guest from Northern BC, and she's in Kitimat. And she's a seeker of the wild and the untamed. She is um, an amazing, amazing soul. So this is Janie Pelletier. She's a holistic nutritionist, and she's from Quebec. And you will notice that in her beautiful accent that she will share with us today. And she's been a yoga teacher for about 13 years and practicing for more than that, more around 15, 16 years of practice. Um, and she has combined her holistic nutrition beautifully with her yoga and her love of nature and intuition and energy, and kind of made this beautiful package for people to land in her space and seek guidance and support and love and nurturing on their journeys to wellness of the mind, the body, and the spirit. So it is really her deep intention and her desire, and she's very heart led in her work in supporting people on their health journey, which is becoming very, very, very important and coming to the forefront more and more in our society because we've kind of been disconnected from that for a while. So through breath work and movement, nutrition, general health, intestinal, hormonal, all of these pieces. She's connecting all of these modalities and parts and pieces into her offerings for everyone that she gets to work with, whether it's one to one, beautiful groups, information sessions, retreats, all kinds of things. So, um, one of the biggest things I've kind of noticed, and we've chatted about this before, is that self practice, that self care, that really intentional time every day that is just a part of the journey. It's really important for each individual, for ourselves as well as practitioners, but also for us to really help others and teach them. So, super guided by nature, connecting people back to their bodies, and and honoring the transformational journey for not only herself but everyone who enters her practice. So, welcome. It's amazing to have you here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Raya. I am very excited about our conversation. Thank you for this beautiful introduction.
Is there anything that I've missed that you would really like to just share that really stood out that you might maybe want to expand on a little bit?
Um, I guess where I'm at, I feel like every day is an opportunity for learning more. But I want to maybe emphasize what you already said about the practice, because I do believe that, we talk about self-care, we talk about um, awareness, self-awareness of our physical body and signaling, but we totally underestimate the power of discipline, like doing it
Mm,
every day. Like we take self-care almost as a luxury, especially if you talk busy mom, women going through some perimenopause or life transition, but the discipline of not waiting to be motivated, but do it. Do
mhm.
your out, get the outside light upon waking in the morning. It's spring, open the door, go outside, go for a walk. Don't wait for motivation. It will never come, or maybe you're going to have a little honeymoon of motivation, but that self-discipline is very, it's not always comfortable. And sometimes we
Mhm.
lose this aspect of practice. Practice is like life on a
Yeah.
yoga mat, just like on the floor. It is not always comfortable, but it's always worth it.
So what do you find when people are coming to you? Like I've definitely gone through stages of that loss of motivation, that exhaustion, burnout, tired. Like I know I want to do it. I know I need to do it and it's good for me. But then I'm like, ugh, like really? I just don't want to. So do you find that's pretty common when people are coming, like they're literally like, help me revamp this. I don't know what is going on with me, but I've hit a bottom.
Yes, it's a great question because we are not alone. We all go through this. And
Mhm.
then it is an illusion, which is one of the kleshas in the teaching of Buddhism. It is what's just strengthen suffering, is the illusion of something, like especially if you see an expert or someone, a doctor saying that, hey, here's the magic pill, the magic way, and like that, those pep talk, sometimes some people talk it like positive talk, like positive toxicity or toxic way of addressing positivity, toxic positivity.
Yeah.
It's just that it comes an illusion. So what we need to, and it's exterior, right? It's an exterior force showing us what we're not doing right, right? So what it
Mm.
reignite the shame, the anxiety that sometimes we keep in, and we have to be strong. So to me, like, I have women in the perimenopause puzzle years going through hormonal transition. They're like, and they don't want to let go of their glass of wine every day. They don't want to let go of toxic behavior that right now are no longer serving them. That was okay in their 20s. So what I bring people back to is their belief and their values.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that means it's not comfortable, but you have to go a little deeper inside to go, okay, so when I eat a food, what does that food has to be to fulfill my values, my belief, my relationship? So this is a process. That's why I call it a practice. It is not necessarily a quick fix, but it requires also self-love. And that is
Yeah.
another very like uh maybe like gray zone with self-love, because we think love is maybe romantic or the love towards our children or our parents, or but love is also stem towards self-esteem, self-worth, and
Mhm.
and those are the conversation that are creating transformation, because
Yeah.
that's the inner compass, your deep center from which you make decisions, and those micro decisions on, I'm going to have water before my coffee. That seems very simple, but life is simple. Our lives are complicated, and our beliefs, oh my God, that gets messy. Our emotional health is
Mm.
really blurring the line between a good decision, it's or a decision that will create a ripple effect of cravings throughout the rest of the day or dehydration throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if that answered the question, that is what I tend to sometimes go into. And through my yoga teachings, so if people
Mhm.
practice, a lot of people sometimes practice with me and then they will come in nutrition after that and in a nutrition consultation. But I talk about it in the yoga practice. It's like you practice, and then suddenly after a year of practicing, you notice that your perspective on things has changed. Like
Yeah.
your experience of your body has changed. And
Mhm.
that affects the way you feed your body as well.
So fascinating. There's so many things, and I mean, when you go to the yoga practice, I mean, you're bringing people to connect into their bodies. We're so connected or disconnected from our bodies and connected into all these distractions and all these pieces in the world. Like you said, there's the next quick fix, or there's a join this challenge, or do this or do that. And when you look back in time, we didn't have those distractions. We were so much more connected to ourselves, to the nature, to the seasons, to the rhythm of things in a very different way. So, inviting people to connect, get out of the ego and out of that busy, like chattery mind, back into their heart, into their solar plexus. I don't know if you find this too, but we all love to talk about the root chakra, but that's one place where people are very disconnected. They're not like the roots of the trees and really deeply connected and nourishing. We've kind of become unplugged from there. So you've got, your beautiful chakra systems, and they're kind of all out of alignment. So is this, that kind of goes, I guess, with your beliefs, your values, your experiences, all of these things to bring us back to self-love and self-worth. So do you find that too? And are people willing to, because that's an energetic way. I mean, you've been taught that through your yoga practices as well as life experience. So is that a huge piece as well?
Yes, because I love the chakra system, and in modern medicine, you can associate each energetic chakra center to also a diaphragm in the body, and also or a gland, like the throat chakra is directly connected to the thyroid gland, which is the foundation of our metabolism, very
Yes.
important gland. So that's just an example. And
Yeah.
also the first chakra, I don't know if you ever heard of Western body, Eastern body, Western mind, which
Mhm.
is from Anodea Judith, who she explains the chakra in a philosophical way. And chakras have been created, like the first chakra, it's from the womb to 6 months old. So this is all our sense of safety,
Yeah.
security, and the right. Each chakra has a right, and it's the right to be in this world, to
Mhm.
be who you are, to show up as yourself. I have a shiver, because it's very empowering. It's
Oh,
your legs, it's
yeah.
earthing, right? It's
Hmm.
the ground, the grounding of your roots towards the middle of the earth.
Yeah.
If that chakra hasn't had the opportunity to fully develop, then it's almost like your foundation is slightly wobbly to then go to the second and third. And
Hmm.
so, and these goes through different cycles in our lives. So that's
Hmm.
why we also put a bit of emphasis on, like, especially towards perimenopause and menopausal transition, towards, okay, let's look back into the traumas we haven't dealt with. Birth is a big trauma for the mother and for the child, but also, like, just how was your relationship with food modeled by your caretaker? That is something I discuss in my field of work, because I would sometimes refer people, hey, if you have trauma work, certain other health professional, I do refer. But relating to my practice, a nutritionist and a yoga teacher, I would say, what's your relationship with food? Back to the previous discussion around beliefs
Yeah.
and food values. And this is a really interesting work, because I'm like, there's no rush. Do it whenever. Go on a walk in nature, think about it. Just let your mind just go. How was food modeled for you? Was it safe to eat? Were you told that you cannot leave the table until you finish your plate? Were you, like, all these, like, micro, um it could be micro trauma, like that turns into belief.
Yeah.
So address unconscious decisions that you're making as an adult. And the root chakra is really the foundation um of your anchoring, uh
Yeah.
to then go towards,
Yeah.
in any direction you want.
Yeah, for sure. It's very interesting because I love that. And as we're coming out of winter, where those roots, if you're looking at nature and trees, those roots are really connected deeply into the earth. They're very quiet, but yet there lots of talking and communication and nutrients going on, and that strong foundation. And now we're kind of coming up and things are starting to come alive on the surface. We don't see below the surface, but things are, and it's the same with us. We've kind of been quiet and going within and doing deeper practice and more quiet time. And as spring kind of awakens, we get to start to awaken the energy centers in a different way. We get to start to play in nature in a different way. We get to tune into that rebirth and that renewal. And so it's interesting to see that, because if you can really work on that rootedness and groundedness through the time of quiet, or where we're less busy gathering and doing things, then it's almost like each season you can work on a different chakra, a different energy center, a different piece, because they all build upon one another in the practice, right? And those foundations, like you said, I mean, you don't build foundations without really connecting with where we do come from, which we do come from nature. That's why we're so connected to nature. We go to nature to be nurtured, to be healed, going out and practicing breath work in nature, breathing in the pine trees and the spruce and the balsam and the cedar and the fresh ocean air, which you're near that as well. So you and I both have a bit different vegetation, so we get different things, but yet there's similarities. So it's very fascinating too, and really tune into that too, because you can eat by season, which would be something I'd love to hear from you. So do you work with people in that part of learning how to eat as we go through seasons, not only in nature but in ourselves, and like you said, perimenopause, leading into which can be 7 to 10 years, and that menopausal day. And then you've got kind of that whole post journey. So do you help people kind of like the seasons and teach them how to do that? Is that part of the pieces of the
I
practice?
Yeah, well, 100%. I always also like meet people where they're at,
Yeah,
especially like if we meet for the first time, or maybe we've practiced yoga together, maybe I know a little more about where you live, because sometimes I meet people online, so it depends where they
yeah,
can be in Quebec, they can be, in
yeah,
other parts of the world, um, and if they're local. So I am definitely very, like right now in May, May through October, the farmers market will start in Terrace.
yeah,
So I'm very excited. And Kitimat is not too far, so that's like okay, Saturday meetup, and on Friday they will also start in Kitimat. So I do what I do through, again, it depends where we meet because not everybody has the same budget. That is
yeah,
also like a very mindful way to approach this. And we do in the north have amazing resources, let's say for
yeah,
regenerative farming, so sustainable fishing. So I would, depending on people's dietary choices, definitely recommend them to support local businesses.
yes,
Yes, local farmers, but also eat in season to an extent of what's possible. Because a lot of people
yeah,
are also farmers here, or farmers, or they have a garden, or they grow herbs, or they forage. So I would always start with, what do you do? What do you have access to? And a lot of people, when I consult, I notice they receive a lot of validation because some people underestimate how much good they're doing for themselves. And
yeah,
because sometimes you don't have this maybe this feedback because it's something that you do, so you don't give much thoughts to it.
yeah,
You don't realize, but a lot of people do so much. And here, like you just mentioned, the access to nature, like we went frisbee golfing, my partner and I, and you can smell the cedar. Oh my
mm,
God, that was
ah,
it
yeah,
stopped me in my stride of walking. I was like, oh, this is so
yeah,
beautiful. And the light and the
mm,
birds, like you're like, oh, there are new birds that are singing.
yeah,
So they're also this way of, that's what holistic nutrition is, right? It's what
yeah,
nourishes you
yeah,
on the multiple layers of your being. So
yeah,
yeah, I do definitely support sustainable, yeah, eating with the season to the
hmm,
extent that it's possible. And also, like, I got the privilege to be able to go on the boat, but in Kitimat, if you want to catch your own fish, you have to have your own boat. And it's not called catching, so you don't really know if you're going to get any or not, or you have to pay for a charter. So that's also
yeah,
something that I'm like, oh yeah, if you go to Rupert, you have ocean to table food.
yeah,
It's
yes.
it's accessible, but not as much. So there's also this like consideration of, but most of the time there's possibilities.
So do you find yourself, like I love that there's so many of us that we're doing so many things right, but yet we feel that disconnect, or we're like, oh, well, but if I'm not getting these results, maybe I'm not doing it right. And I've tried to do all these things, and it's almost like we complicate it. We let all that exterior chatter kind of come in and disrupt what we're doing, that our body is actually like, yeah, you are doing something right. But we get pulled into all these directions, and maybe we want a quick fix. Maybe we want, you know, I don't know, we want something different, and we're trying to find it by being scattered, and which allows that means our energies are scattered, so we're constantly on overdrive and overwhelm instead of celebrating those pieces that we have been doing so beautifully, and it's like you said, even just going for a walk in nature and smelling, that is beautiful. That is nourishing the body. Breathing, slowing down, breathing through your nose, like going on that sensory journey. Look at the textures, the smells, what's growing. I was just fiddleheads popped into my mind, which will be a season that's coming up, right? And those are amazing. And that's very short season, but at that is, those are the kinds of things that people are really starting to awaken to as spring comes, is all of those fresh pieces, and you can smell them, see them, touch them, be with them, you know. That kinds of slows us down, I find too. The bird song, the early mornings, the importance of light. Like, it doesn't have to be about food. It can be just being in your spaces and slowing down, kicking off your shoes, standing barefoot on the green grass. You know, I think we feel like it all has to be around nutrition, meaning just that nutrition food, but it's like you're saying, it's so much more,
Yeah,
right?
and when I
Like,
teach conferences, that's what I explain, right? It's like we over focus on the physical health, diet, movement. So what you eat, how you move, but there's the emotional aspect, so how you feel. There's the also the spiritual
yes,
aspect,
yeah,
what you believe in,
yeah.
and there's also like the mental aspect. Like, do you have a sense of purpose? Do you
Hmm.
have a goal in life? Do you feel fulfilled? And the emotional aspect is also the relationship and the love. Like I tend to emphasize a lot, especially when I know people's like partners or family. I emphasize a lot like the healthy and the empowering on the power over our health on the relationship, and having a good partner, like being loved for who we are, going through like struggles with loved
Hmm.
ones. Like,
Hmm.
this is such a grounding. Talk about chakra one, right?
Yeah.
Like, anything that makes you feel grounded. You mentioned earthing, nature, but let's say if you want, like the whole like uh chakra cycle, it can start every morning.
Hmm.
What do you do the first thing in the morning to ground yourself? Go for a walk outside, go and maybe meditate, just 5 minutes, or maybe count 10 breaths. That you just anchor
Hmm.
yourself and notice how it affects the rest of your day. Because a calm, anchored nervous system digests better. If you digest better, you absorb your nutrients better. And if you absorb your nutrients better, wow, cognitive health,
Yeah.
hormonal health, digestive health, your overall body is thriving. And then what happens? You detox better.
Yes.
All that because you anchored your chakra one, and then you went through the entire the entire wheel system. But that is simple, but our lives are complicated because you get up and then you're like, oh, I gotta feed the dog. I gotta take care of you have all these, oh, I gotta get on my computer because I
Mhm.
forgot to. And this is just acknowledging that our lives are complicated and we don't necessarily want to have a boring life. It's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. But
Mhm.
health, the concept and the principle of
Mhm.
health are simple.
Yes. And that's going back to that, rhythm of nature, the seasons, the centering in, all of that, because that busyness is easy to get wrapped up in, but we do get to choose. And I think we forget we have that choice. We have that invitation. Those invitations are coming up all the time. They're there every day. Like you said, the birds, why are they out? They're happy, so happy that spring is out. I caught myself this morning on my walk before our podcast. I'm like, I need to go for a walk, just clear my mind. And the red-winged blackbirds are singing, and they're like, I found myself watching them just smiling, just listening to their joy and their, everybody wake up, have an amazing day. Like, they were just and they're just in their own space. And it was like, wow, here I am. I'm just clearing my mind, but they're filling my mind with this beautiful, I'm receiving song, I'm receiving energy, I'm receiving joy, I'm receiving, the purpose of presence and, being in the moment of what is happening around me, and it's such a gift. And I think, like you said, it's easy to be like, oh shoot, I forgot 10 emails last night, and oh, I got to phone that person, and I got to get the kids here, and I have to. But the importance of being first, we actually can be so much more successful and purposeful in all of those things if we allow ourselves to be first. and just pause.
Yeah.
You know, you press that pause button on a movie, you turn your phone onto airplane mode, you just take 5 minutes to enjoy that cup of tea without having to drink it down while grabbing your jacket and your kids and heading out the door. And, you know, having that purposeful, intentional morning practice, self care, nurturing can set us up for so much of a better day. You know, it's and like you said, it doesn't have to take long because people think of meditation, oh God, like I gotta sit in meditation for an hour. I can't do that. Like when you do shavasana, you're what, 5, 10 minutes maybe, right? And just bringing people
Oh my
back.
God. Yeah, three
Yeah,
or four. Sometimes
right?
if you're like,
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's a beautiful posture that is rushed. I gotta say, I can be
yeah,
guilty in some of my classes.
yeah, yeah.
But just like you said, and I just want to circle back to how we started with discipline.
Yeah.
Like we see discipline like as human beings, we are meant to be uncomfortable. Life is not comfortable. And we, this is such a profound teaching of Buddhism because we have maybe lost this understanding of what discomfort means. Discomfort
Mhm.
means transition.
Yeah.
Discomfort means change. Change is inevitable. The
Yes.
only certainty in life, okay, we're gonna die, but everything changes. Again, death is the change from being alive to not being alive or changing life. But we need or we deserve to understand that change passes. Like nothing remains the same. Everything
Mm.
changes. So it can be a
Yeah.
very soothing thought,
Mhm.
actually. And it can also be an opportunity for enhancement of our lifestyle, of our decisions. And we are bombarded with information. There's always a
Mm.
shiny object that pulls our attention from one direction to the other, and I'm no exception. And it's it's not again, I'm not someone who sees things as black and white or wrong and right. I'm very a balanced person, so I'm
Yeah.
just more into let's state the obvious and let's come back into balance. Let's come
Mhm.
back into our center, into our roots, and let's every day. So you know how you said as well, like before we were more connected to nature, we had less
Mhm.
distraction, but also some
Mhm.
people would say, well, they didn't have the means or they didn't have the life for it. And now
Yeah.
we have a lot of luxury. We have the luxury of access to information, free information, just this beautiful
Mhm.
podcast. You know, we
Yeah.
have access to so much resources,
Yeah.
so many resources, but now it's about how much of our time are we allowing. So now it's about boundaries. And this is discomfort. How can
Well,
I create these boundaries? Because
yeah.
a good night's sleep starts in the morning. If you want to sleep well, so that's also the circadian rhythm, living
Yeah.
with the moon and the sun and nature. So if you go to bed at midnight, I understand that maybe it's hard for you to get up maybe 20 minutes earlier before your kids and have this um, self-care moment to anchor yourself. But then just slowly adapt your lifestyle. What is it really meaningful? Because what you're doing right now, it's for your health in 20 years. Like what we're doing now, it's not just for self-satisfaction now. I mean, obviously that's great. But what we're doing is we're wanting to prevent condition that's going to happen in 10, 20 years. And
Mm.
this is what we lose track of. We want to
Yes.
prevent cognitive decline. We want to prevent cardiovascular conditions. We want to live life because we live longer than our ancestors. Thank you for sanitization and thank you
Yeah.
for, clean
Yeah.
water. But also we lose the sight, like the perspective. You know how when we
Mm.
walk, you get that in cities because there are buildings everywhere and you never see the horizon. And then once you leave, it reminds me of when I was living in Montreal. I would leave the island of Montreal and I would start seeing the horizon. My entire perspective upon the landscape, but also in my brain, like my perspective on the present moment just opened up.
Mm.
So this is sometimes where we have a very narrow, sometimes like short term uh, efficient, quick destination kind of mindset, when what we're doing right now, what's sustainable, it's what we do every day for the rest of our life. That's what makes the most has the most impact on our longevity. You don't want to have osteoporosis. You want to prevent muscle loss, and you want to prevent maybe like cognitive decline, obviously. But
Mhm.
we need to know that the small things that we do every day is what will build us up when we are, in our 70s and 80s. And there's no guaranteed, but at least you know that
Mhm.
those micro decisions will shape your belief and your values. And as you're evolving, you're going to add to it, you're going to tweak it, because
Yeah.
nothing remains the same.
No. No, and life is transition. We're growing and changing, and I mean, we'll be doing that until we don't have a pulse anymore, like you said. And
Exactly.
so what better gift to give yourself than that power of, you know, intentional practices and really connecting practices, coming back, setting those boundaries. And boundaries, the word, I think in people, it scares them, but it's okay to have a boundary or two, for yourself. That it's self-preservation. It's also, to say, hey, you know what, I see you and I hear you, but I've got my time that I need to do. I'm investing in myself right now. And that's a part of working with your throat chakra and getting those boundaries out and speaking your truth and asking for what you need. And so, we're rooted, and then we're kind of, working our way up. And I find a lot of people really have a hard time with that piece. You've got your throat, you've got your lymphs, you've got all the things, right? And when things start to clog up in certain areas, there are messages from the body asking you to listen, to you, for you to hear, for you to slow down and have press that pause button and go, okay, wait a second, what are you trying to tell me? Do you need me to focus on this thing? Am I eating something that is making me bloated and uncomfortable and lethargic and all these things? Because our body speaks to us all the time, but when we're so disconnected and distracted, we don't listen until something really big happens. So what you're saying is learning to listen, having these intentional practices really does help with the health of the mind, the body, and the spirit, and longevity, and preventing injuries and things. We want to have this beautiful, nurturing, holistic preventative practice, right? Like that's a gift that we can give ourselves, and it doesn't cost $1 million,
No,
right?
and you can model that to your kids. You can
Yeah.
model that to the people around you, not necessarily because you want to, just because they see you. They see
Yes.
you evolving, and the way you speak change, the way you think change, the food choices you make change, but also like circling towards boundaries. The boundaries are not just relating to others, the boundaries are relating to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like turning off your phone at 7 p.m. because yeah, like that blue light disrupt your sleep. Everybody knows that. But the boundaries are also within you. This is where the discipline is uncomfortable. It's like, oh well, but if someone calls me because they need my help or something, that there's always this
Mhm.
like negative bias of fear. And I'm not saying I don't want to dismiss that at all. I don't at all. But it's also like weighing in life, and also in medicine or in health practice. It's like risk benefit ratio. This
Yeah.
is like in herbal medicine, it's going to be the food poison, ratio. So you
Yeah.
have to always assess, and that's boundary. It's like,
Yeah.
what's my risk benefit of turning my phone off at 7 p.m.? Because
Mhm.
the best sleep you can get is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So I would advise everybody to go to bed at 9:30, or maybe
Yeah.
earlier if you want to. But and it's not about one night that you go to bed later. That's not the problem. What is important is what you do, and that
Overtime.
self-discipline. Well, yeah, for the rest of your life. Exactly. All the
Yeah.
most of the
Overtime.
time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holiday is going to come around. It's not a problem. It's fine. You're going to eat different foods, but if you've like been aware of how your body detoxify, what food are most sustainable for you, uh, when you arrive to those times of like holidays, or you're going to bounce back, no problem. Like within a
Yeah.
week of like changing and going out of track, we'll call it, for lack of a better word, it's fine. Your body's going to come back to it because
Hmm.
you've spent the entire year optimizing and paying attention and loving, that process,
Hmm.
even if it's uncomfortable. But those are a form of boundaries. It's like, you know what? This is not sustainable. I'm not going to drink my glass of wine today. I do that. I mean, I had to learn my relationship with alcohol and understanding that, but I
Hmm.
like it. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. But I'm gonna weigh the risk benefit
Yeah.
ratio for me, my hormonal health, where I am in my cycle, or
Yeah.
so those require self-love, because you have to look in, not just relate to what other people tell you. And I'm talking about nutritionists, I'm talking about doctor, I'm talking about your best
Mhm.
friend, or everybody that think they know better about your health, out of love often, or maybe out of like having the accreditation for it, but then come back to how your body feels,
Yeah.
is the most. So that means that makes you having a health team, but you are the healer. You are the person
Mhm.
that can heal
Yeah.
yourself. Nobody can.
No, we're all there to support, the clients and people on that journey. And
Yeah,
it's that coming home and trusting yourself and listening to all of those versions of you inside that are going, hey, I actually do you remember that? I've got something to say. Or, all of those, even the inner child, like you said, going back to even ancestral, where do those beliefs come from? Where did you learn that? What was modeled to you? And all those versions of us have something to share inside that, but we can't reach those unless we're coming back into ourselves and trusting. Thank you so much, everybody, for that information. You've got this beautiful team. Now, how do I take all those tools that I've gathered, and then I sit with myself and I go, okay, which ones really feel just perfectly right for me? Because they won't all at the same time. So, being able to be with oneself and to trust the message that is not the messages from here, because that gets we really get in that ego and that over analytical mind, but those messages that are coming from deep within, from that heart, from that solar plexus, from that second brain in our stomach, because that speaks a lot, speaks loudly all the time. We just kind of shove it aside, right? And so um that power of, and I think you're sharing that when you're doing your presentations and you have your beautiful yoga practice, and really empowering people to take charge and to take control of those things that are really, really important to them. You're showing them, you're just opening the door, and you're like, here is this beautiful information, here's some practices, but really the choice is yours at the end of the day. So, it's
yeah,
empowerment as well, a
well said.
transformation and empowerment and encouragement and love and nurturing. So by modeling all of these things, people are like, oh, well, I got some inspiration. Thank you so much for the inspiration. I want to try these things, right? You're not telling people what to do. You're inspiring them to think a new way, or try a new thing, or drink a new tea, or try a new yoga movement, meeting them, like you said, where they're at, whether it's on the mat or in the classroom or online or at retreat, and that's really powerful, to meet people where they're at. Really, really powerful.
I think so.
Yeah.
And think about it. I mean, in your practice too, could be, but as a practitioner, it's also a form of boundary setting.
Yes.
Because um, can you imagine if you start taking on everybody's health
Yeah.
so close to you? I mean, I
Mhm.
I had to, for me, it's first, it gives them their power. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to take power away from anybody, like thinking
No.
I know better,
Yeah.
but also it gives a very healthy peace of mind. Like, how many times, I end a consultation, I'm like, oh, should have said that, and I'm in my bed, like, and like, oh my God, I should have said that too. I should have said that.
Yeah.
It's like there needs to be a beautiful cleaning, like make separation. There's
Yes.
light work meditation I was taught, that I share in Perry Talks and in my movement practice, to make separation, like which is called non-attachment in Buddhist philosophy and yoga teachings, which is
Mhm.
very healthy. And this is a form of another way to say boundary setting. Like it's
Yes.
always a good thing. It's never
Mm.
about pushing anything away. It's about defining a container within within, kind of around yourself, and
Mhm.
within you can explore, like be free, and be free of also of other people's energy. You kind of give
Yes.
them their energy back. And this
Yeah.
is very important, because when you create this boundary as a practitioner, you also take a form of like ego, or
Mhm.
out of the equation. Because so many
Yeah.
people will ask me, like, am I, it's in yoga, am I doing it right? And my first question would be, how does it feel? And then, oh, so power to you, how does it feel? And in
Yeah.
a nutrition consultation, it's the same. It's like, explore this for maybe 3 days, reintroduce it. Like elimination diet is a very, very effective way to find if certain foods are creating sensitivity. It's not necessarily an allergy, but intolerance. So like,
Mm.
okay, and then here are the signs, because this is my job as a guide. Here are the signs that
Mhm.
maybe you have a food sensitivity to that
Yeah.
particular, fruit or vegetable, or food. And then now assess, and then
Yeah.
because certain people are sensitive to certain food, but they still want to eat it because, oh, it's so good. So then power in you,
Yep.
you know?
I was, just having that conversation, and it's funny because that it doesn't feel right. Like for me, I am definitely very gluten sensitive. So, and I love it. But I also know, like, the inflammation, the achy joints, I do get insomnia, I get more hot flashes, I get all these things, and I'm like, I do really well for quite a long period of time, and then I'm like, oh, but it's so good. I just want to have that scone or that, whatever it is, and so I do it, and then I'm like, okay, now your body's reminding you of why you are we're not doing it because of, all these things. And sometimes I make myself wrong, and sometimes I'm like, no, it's just your body reminding you, just going tap tap on the shoulder. Remember why we talked about this? We were not eating gluten because of blah blah blah, right? And um not making yourself wrong for going, oh, well, now I had one, I better go have 10 more, and I'm just going to feel like shit again because, I had one bad moment. And it's like, we're all going to have those moments where, yeah, maybe we're going to have the chocolate bar, we're going to have the big bowl of pasta, we're going to do all these. It's not wrong by any means, and there's no shame in it, and there's no, it's just coming back to that. Okay, I had a moment. What was that moment about? Where were my emotions? What was I thinking about? Was I exhausted? Where, I mean, maybe your cortisol was out of the place, maybe your adrenals are exhausted, maybe you didn't sleep for the last week, or who knows, maybe you had a really stressful day. So I think that's, scaling back and going, okay, wait, pause, take a breath. What is this situation? There's an answer. There's something here that we need to now peel back again and take a look at it, because we're always healing. Doesn't mean just like the layers of an onion, because they never end. And I think that just honoring those pieces and honoring the journey, because the journey is not linear. It is all over the place, much like a river. And you don't just walk down a straight trail in the trees. You're kind of winding all through the woods and, finding your way to your destination. But it is not always straightforward. And, reminding ourselves of that peace and being okay with that is something that's big,
Yeah.
like so big.
And to, like, if I may share, like, that's why, like, having a baseline, that's where the discipline lies, and I want to use this word because I feel this word is not utilized, or it's a bit like looked at something too rigid. But discipline is finding your baseline. Here's
Yeah.
my day to day. I don't eat gluten. I have it, and it's pretty easy to find gluten alternatives or
No.
just
Yeah.
have a lifestyle without gluten, right?
Yeah.
But so you have your baseline, you have the way for you, you feel like in balance, just like an ecosystem, right? We have an
Yeah.
ecosystem inside of us, just like there's an ecosystem outside. And then when you have this cone or this moment of first, love it. If it's possible, have it during the in the morning as early as
Yeah.
possible because your digestive fire is stronger from 6 to 2, you know.
Yeah.
So because and you have the whole day to detoxify from it and then eat like it's very you can totally have your strategies, right? So let's say
Mm.
eat earlier in the morning. I'm a big fan in my pharmacy, there's always activated charcoal. So after that, make sure it's not around supplementation, but have your activated charcoal to support the detoxification pathways. Go for a
Mhm.
walk. So optimize your detoxification pathways. Go
Mhm.
for a sweat. I think you like cold exposure. So it could be
Yeah.
cold exposure in a sweat, a sauna,
Yeah.
have some bitter herbs like dandelion tea, like
Yeah.
dandelion roots that you're gonna boil or make a decoction. You can have arugula or just some bitters to support
Yeah.
like bile and the bile production or your liver to be toned and turned on, and maybe have a little more fasting, like give your digestive system a rest. So there are strategies that you can
Yeah.
utilize here, right? Those are things we can
Yeah.
that I can talk in a consultation, and I love talking. That's why I love group teaching. So it's like, okay, let's all put that in our strategy box and love it. Love that scone. Love that
Yeah.
glass of wine. I have a
Yeah.
whole strategy because it's ingrained into my lifestyle. So nothing is evil,
Yeah.
nothing is bad. It's my framing. Circling back again, that's my word
Yes.
today, circling
Yeah.
the belief and your values.
Yeah.
I want to have fun, but
Yeah.
I also want to be healthy. And both can totally go together.
Yes. Well, if you think of the circle, which, like you said, is there's the circle of life, there's the circle of healing, everything like where it's not linear, it's very circular. And, I mean,
Exactly.
it goes right back to, you can see it in nature, you got the sun, you got the moon, you got all the things. We're very circular. We go by a cycle, all of those things. So, and in that beautiful circle of wellness is all of those little pieces that are in there. And we just get to, you know, and it's not a closed circle, it's a very open circle. So you can bring in, new things and conversations, and you always come back to those solid core pieces that always are anchoring us where we need to be. So, oh, fascinating. So we get to travel to Hawaii together at the end of the summer. And so you're going to bring us some beautiful yoga and some, consultation time for people. And just, you're going to help me hold container for everyone that joins us. And yeah, so I'm really excited for the part of that journey too, because people will, get to experience you in person and be able to really, ask those questions. And if they're listening to the podcast right now, they've gotten a lot of information and they can formulate some questions to bring with them if they're coming, and have that time with you wandering down the beach and in circle, in yoga, in all the spaces we have around meals. And that was another thing that Justina, who does my meals for me, when we sit down and we plan the menu, we go by season, we go by the importance of supporting everyone on their journey. So everyone gets to let us know about how they're eating in their lifestyle. Is there anything that they can and can't have, that, things like that. So we're listening to each individual person, and we're also providing really soulful sensory journey, and, light foods that nourish us while we're healing, because we don't want to have those really heavy foods as we start to purge things and we start to change and transform. And just being really aware of the intention with which we put into that for retreat. So we'll get to kind of play with that together. And I think, it'll be fun to have you on board as well, because you'll be able to be, kind of maybe dance around the kitchen with us a little bit and just kind of play with some of those ideas. And I love, we're looking at doing some collaborative pieces one evening or two evenings together, all of us, whether we make our own pizza right from scratch and we're choosing ingredients and things like that, or make whatever we're doing. So that, because conversations in the kitchen are amazing. And when you get a group of people together, all of us feeling safe and comfortable to have those conversations around what nourishes our body during these times of retreat and life and transformation. So I'm excited about that piece. So excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So is there anything like, so as you're thinking about all these amazing pieces that we really talked to today, it's a lot, and people can find you. I'm going to share your website and how they can book a consultation and just kind of reach out to you on email or a message. But is there something that you want to leave them with today that they could start with and kind of walk forward with as a small, simple tool that would be really important?
Ah,
I mean,
I'm
there's
very
many.
excited about Ida. So think about it. If you want a little vacation and you need, like, what is it? You said a vacation with a purpose. I think
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
that's how you
Yeah.
describe it. I really like it.
Yeah.
So I guess I would like to leave the audience thinking about this. Like, like if you feel the need, because there's also sometimes this listen to or allow space. I would say like that can be a nice challenge. Allow space for silence.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, going for a walk, maybe without a podcast, maybe
Yeah.
without your phone, maybe allow, it doesn't have to be a specific amount of time, but just allowing for your thoughts. So, and just observing your thoughts, which we have a lot of, and just see what arise without judgment, just with um, open hearted, like an invitation to just see. Like, I don't know if I share that with you, but when I go for a walk, I have a full-blown meeting with myself. I talk, and
Yeah.
and sometimes I don't even notice yet that I'm talking. I'm just having yeah, I call it a meeting. And and it's very liberating. And see what your deeper self is longing for. And it can
Yeah.
be as much as, what you want to do. Is there's any changes that feels like it's tugging at you? It's like, yeah, make that little shift. And that can be towards, like, nutrition is at
Mhm.
the forefront of our health. Like, nobody can deny it. Like, the way
Yeah.
we eat, like, and a field that I do work on connecting hormone and the guts, so in
Yeah.
perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, but also mouth, dental
Mm.
nutrition, mouth health, how the way we eat, there's such a thing as demineralization and remineralization of our teeth. So
Yeah.
there's it just happens in any bones of our bodies. So have allowing this, like, time of, like, space and almost like the void or the silence, and the rising towards letting what's arising guide you towards in your health journey, and you'll be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, you and I get to open the door. Um, and I just think of, even opening the door out into nature and letting nature be the guide, letting yourself be the guide, because we get to be there to hold container, but we're only merely there to, help you with some information and answer some questions. But really, you are the guide on your journey, and nature will definitely guide you with all of the seasons and the elements and the journey of it. And I love that you get to go out and have that wander and that meeting with yourself, because I think we need to do that. And not even that we need to, let's be open to doing that more and having that conversation, and not allowing ourselves to be distracted from the conversations that our higher self does want to have with us. And we work through a lot of things. I mean, sometimes people go for a drive, they roll down the window and they feel the breeze, and they just driving brings them to that conversation, or walking or running or yoga practice, or you know um it allows us to have space for those conversations that sometimes we can't have with anyone else but ourselves. And because we do understand
Yes.
ourselves the best, even if we feel disconnected or discombobulated. Um, and it's amazing what we can work through and what we can understand and the clarity that comes and the aha moments. And it's so very, very powerful to have that experience and to take that part of the journey, because yeah, so
I
many,
think so. And
yeah,
it won't be comfortable, and don't
no,
wait for motivation.
yeah,
Just
no,
just do it. It's literally like, how and maybe you're familiar with this, but like
hmm,
trusting. It's not just trusting in the world, but trusting in your capacity of doing things, trusting that the actions you're taking is what needed to accomplish your greater
hmm,
purpose, right? Trusting that you are doing the right thing is a
yes,
muscle. It's
yeah,
literally a part in our brain that we have to work every day. Just
yeah,
like you're training um, for a 5K run next month and you need to kind of training for your work because you're learning something new, same thing.
yeah,
Working your trust muscle every day is you would never question someone who's going to go run an Ironman that they have to train. You're never going to question that, and it's not comfortable training. Some
no,
morning you don't want to. You're
yeah,
sore. You're like, oh my god, I got to eat, prep all that food. This is what discomfort looks like, but this is what
yes,
discipline looks like too. So
yeah,
just understanding that this trust is a training,
yeah,
trusting that hey, you're on
yeah,
the right path.
yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And so the invitation is just really for everyone to lean in, to listen to that inner voice and that inner knowing, to trust. And we don't learn to walk all at once. We get up and we fall down and we stumble and we do the things when we're little. And we're so encouraged. And so at this time in our lives, it's one baby step at a time. It's one foot in front of the other. There's no race. We have to do all these things. It's just we can slow down and just really intentionally trust the journey and just take those steps and enjoy each one. It doesn't have to be forced or rushed. And we will experience that when we really lean into some of the things that we're going to lean into and retreat and beyond. So I'm just so grateful to have you in my space, to be able to share experiences with you and to, continue our work together down the road and kind of behind the scenes as well. And just to, we can support each other and we're supporting others in two very different ways, but yet it's all a part of that holistic piece and that circle, that team, that, it's really important to have all those pieces. And it's just such an honor to have you on board and to share space. I'm so grateful. So thank you so, so
Oh,
much. And I will leave everybody all the details of how to get in touch with you and if they've got questions or they just need a moment. So thank you so much.
thank you, Rhea. Pleasure to share this space with you.
Yes. Let's see.